Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we're going to start exploring Online Communities OSINT. Online Community OSINT is a very powerful area of OSINT, and it's one of the most interesting fields for OSINT investigators. In today's episode, we're going to explore this area in detail and understand how online communities can help us during an investigation. So, let's start exploring Online Communities OSINT in today's Episode 5. What are online communities? So, what exactly are online communities? When we talk about OSINT, one of the most important things we need to understand is, who is the target? We want to know who they are, what they're interested in, what they do, and what information is publicly available about them. You can find some basic information about a target without researching their online communities. You might be able to discover their name, username, profile, or some other basic information. But if you want to understand their mindset, background, interests, opinions, activities, and other personal information that they have publicly shared, then researching online communities can become extremely valuable. People often share much more information in communities than they do on their main social media profiles. That's why online communities can provide a completely different perspective during an OSINT investigation. Today, I'm going to demonstrate some dorks and tools that can be used for researching online communities. I'll also show you how to use them, where to use them, and how to understand what each tool or technique is actually doing. We're going to start with the basics and gradually move toward deeper investigation techniques. And for today's practical demonstration, we're going to start with Reddit. We'll begin with the basics and slowly move toward deeper investigation. Starting with Reddit. So, let's assume we have a topic that we want to investigate. For this example, our topic is
OSINT. Now, if we simply search for OSINT on Reddit, we are going to get a lot of different types of results. But what if we only want to find titles containing our specific keyword? In that case, we can use a search operator, or dork, to narrow down the results. And that query looks like this. Searching Reddit with dorks. So, for our first search, we can use a Reddit search query like this. https reddit.com/search/q equals title, OSINT. After running this query, you'll get a large number of Reddit results where OSINT appears in the title. As you can see, the results are now focused specifically on posts with OSINT in their titles. But what if we still can't find our user? This is where online communities become really interesting. Online communities are often places where users can remain relatively anonymous. Instead of using their real names, they may use usernames or aliases. But even when their identity is anonymous, users may share a lot of information about themselves through their posts and comments. They may talk about their real-life problems, personal experiences, interests, work, relationships, email addresses, phone numbers, or other personal information. This is why community-based OSINT can sometimes provide information that you won't find on a normal social media profile. Now, if we want to search directly for a specific Reddit user, we can use a URL like this. https reddit.com//user/whoistheblackhat. This Takes us directly to the Reddit profile associated with that username, if the profile exists and is accessible. Searching for a specific website on Reddit. Now, what if we want to find discussions on Reddit that mention a specific website? For this, we can use the same search techniques we learned in Episode 2, especially the cite operator. For example, https://reddit.com/search?q equals site:/neurodev.netlify.app. This query is intended to search Reddit for references to that specific domain. In this particular example, you may not get any results because I haven't personally shared that website on Reddit. But that's exactly why we're using it as an example. The important thing is to understand the technique and then replace the example domain with the website or keyword you're actually investigating. Searching for specific topics. We can use the same approach when researching a particular topic. For example, suppose we come across information about a potential crime, suspicious activity, or surveillance-related topic, and we want to see whether people on Reddit are discussing it. We could use a query such as site:/reddit.com/surveillance. This searches for publicly indexed Reddit pages containing the keyword surveillance. The problem is that this can produce a very noisy set of results. You'll potentially get discussions from many different communities and contexts, including results that have nothing to do with our specific investigation. So, instead of stopping here, we can make the search more specific. For example, if we're specifically researching this topic in the context of OSINT, we could narrow our search using additional keywords. The idea would be to search for a more specific combination of platform plus topic plus context.
This helps us reduce irrelevant results and focus on discussions that are more closely related to our investigation. The important concept here is that dorking isn't always about finding one perfect query immediately. It's often an iterative process. Broad search, analyze results, identify noise, add keywords, narrow the search. And this is one of the most useful skills you'll develop while doing OSINT. Connecting a Reddit user to a topic. Now, what if you want to investigate a specific Reddit user in relation to a particular topic? For example, if you want to find posts or pages associated with a specific user and the keyword surveillance, you can use a query like this: reddit.com/user/chris/surveillance. This allows you to combine the user's profile with a specific keyword and look for publicly indexed results related to that topic. This can be useful when you already have a username and want to investigate whether that user has publicly discussed a particular subject. Moving to archives. Now, from here, we're going to start our archiving section. Archives can be extremely useful in OSINT when you're looking for information that has been deleted, changed, or is no longer available on the live website. For this, you can use services such as archive.org, archive.today, archive.is. These services can contain historical snapshots of web pages that were previously available online. However, keep in mind that an archive won't necessarily contain every deleted page, comment, or piece of information. It depends on whether that content was captured and preserved by the service. Reddit archives and APIs. There are also APIs and specialized services that can help researchers search through historical Reddit data, including comments and posts. Some of these services may require API access, and their availability can change over time. For example, one endpoint you can try is https://reddit.poll-io/reddit/search/reddit/author=target_username. Here you can replace target_username with the Reddit username you're investigating. The idea is to search for comments associated with that username within the available dataset. Keep in mind that APIs and archived datasets can change, become unavailable, or have incomplete coverage. So if one service isn't working, don't assume that the information doesn't exist. Try other legitimate sources and archives as part of your investigation. I'll also mention some additional resources on my website where you can explore more options for historical Reddit research. Finding images from Reddit communities. Now, let's say you're investigating a specific Reddit community and you're interested in finding images that were shared there.
For this, you can also look at external image hosting platforms such as Imgur. For example, https://www.imgur.com/r/subreddit_name. Here, replace subreddit_name with the name of the Reddit community you're investigating. This can help you find images that were associated with that particular subreddit on Imgur. For example, if a community frequently shared screenshots, photographs, diagrams, or other visual content through an external image hosting service, searching the corresponding community can sometimes help you locate those images. However, keep in mind that this is not guaranteed to contain every image ever posted to that subreddit. Images may have been deleted, removed, or hosted somewhere else. So again, treat this as one source in your overall OSINT investigation. The more sources you combine, the better your chances of reconstructing the public information surrounding a target or topic. Reddit crowdsourcing. Now, let's
Or identify something. But there are some important rules you should understand before using this technique. First, always read and follow the rules of the specific community before posting. Don't assume that every subreddit allows investigation requests or external links. Also, don't publicly share sensitive personal information, private data, credentials, or anything that could expose someone's privacy. And don't assume that a community will automatically solve an investigation for you. Use the answers as additional leads and verify important information independently. Another important point is that community members may respond within minutes, hours, or even several days, or they may not be able to solve the problem at all. So, let's look at some useful communities. RRBI. The first community is r/reddit.com/r/RBI. RBI, or Reddit Bureau of Investigation, is a community where users discuss and try to solve various real-world mysteries, puzzles, and information identification problems. Depending on the community rules and the nature of your case, you may be able to post part of your investigation and ask for help from the community. Sometimes, different people may notice different details in the same piece of information. One person may recognize a location, another may recognize an object, and someone else may notice an important contextual clue. That's the power of crowdsourcing. But remember, community answers are not automatically verified facts. You should independently confirm anything important before treating it as evidence. r/pick request. The next community is
Image enhancement does not magically recover information that was never captured in the original image. So, always distinguish between what the original image actually contains and what may be an interpretation or enhancement. r/what is this thing? The next community is reddit.com/r/what is this thing. This is a very useful community for identification. If you come across an unknown object and don't know what it is, the community can sometimes help identify it. For example, you might find an unusual tool, device, piece of equipment, object, or something from an unfamiliar environment. You can provide the available information and ask the community for identification. This can be extremely useful during OSINT because sometimes identifying one small object can provide a much larger investigative lead. For example, identifying an object could help you discover its manufacturer, location, purpose, approximate time period, or other related information. And that's exactly why crowdsourcing can be so powerful in OSINT. You're not just searching for information. You are combining your own investigation with the knowledge and experience of a much larger community. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode right here. There were a few more techniques and resources that I originally planned to cover in this episode, but I decided not to include them in the YouTube video because they don't fit well within YouTube's current guidelines. However, I haven't left them out completely. I've added the additional resources, some publicly available API information, and other tools to my website so you can explore them there. In this episode, we started exploring Online Communities OSINT, from Reddit search techniques and archives to crowdsourcing and community-based research. But this is only the beginning. In the next part, we're going to go much deeper into Online Communities OSINT and explore more advanced techniques, tools, and
investigative workflows. So make sure you don't miss the next episode. If you found this episode useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your questions or suggestions in the comments. I'll see you in the next part. Keep learning, keep investigating, and most importantly, stay ethical.